What's going on? Welcome to Dharma Time here on WPSN99.com, the problem-solving network. We stream solutions.
Streaming.
Yes. I am your host, the Dharma Guy. I'm here with the one and only, the Dope Doctor.
What's up? Oh, look at the crowd. The crowd's going wild.
Yes. We got a good show for you guys today. Although I got to say, bear with me. I think we're both a wee bit under the weather, I think.
Yeah.
Got some allergies or I don't know what it is. Who knows?
Yeah.
Anyways, so today we are talking about unconscious bias. Are there groups of people that you have when you hear the name, like I say, I don't know, Trump voter or millennial or black, white, Muslim, whatever, do you automatically think of something? Do you automatically put that group in a box somewhere?
Witnesses.
Yes. If so, we're talking to you. And I'm going to say the word unconscious means you might not be aware of it. But got a great show. We're going to have Mr. Super Bowl champ for the Washington Redskins.
That's right.
Fred Stokes. It's gonna be
and from Fred Stokes Foods.
Yes.
Fred Stokes sausages.
Yeah. Oh, God. They're
found
so
at Westgate Resorts.
They're so good, man.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
I'm not even a huge sausage guy, but those were terrific. So.
I am.
But yes, and what prompted this whole thing was the Starbucks incident that took place where the two gentlemen were denied access to the bathroom because they didn't buy anything. Although some would say they got denied access because they're black, and I'm going to say that's where the unconscious bias potentially could come into play. So,
right.
And if you haven't heard about that, where have you been? There's stuff happening that you're not aware of, and I love that. I love the fact that I'm seeing some things I'm not aware of, and I'm constantly being educated because it's easy for me to forget. As much as I know my friends, as much as I hung out with them, and we have a bond or whatnot.
Right.
It's easy for me to forget I'm not black. I'm not Hispanic, and so
It's not easy for me to forget that you're not.
Yeah. Well, what I'm getting at is metaphorically speaking, it's I forget, like I haven't lived that life. And so there's subtle nuances that take place every day that I'll just never know because I don't know to look for them.
Yeah, you forget the little things that people experience because you're not experiencing.
There's a few in particular that were kind of like aha moments I had that I'm going to wait until we get Fred on before I get too far into it.
Of course.
But my point is I was very, very excited about today's show. Really was.
Right on.
I still am, actually.
Right on.
I could totally see this being a part 2 at some point because it's such a big issue. And I think there's some education that needs to take place. I think that too many people, I said to you earlier, when you start talking about race, they're like their butts pucker, man, and they get real uncomfortable and they don't want to have it, and they avoid it like the plague.
Right.
And while I kind of understand that, it's part of the problem.
Right.
It's hard to learn. It's hard to empathize. It's hard to educate yourself when you're so uncomfortable with the discussion, you avoid it at all costs.
Right.
And then it kind of helps you stay in your little world, and it confirms your biases.
Right.
So, anyways, it is now 1:12. Let's go ahead and get Fred on the line, man.
Right.
Let's do that.
I'll get him on.
I know he's waiting for us, and I want to get into this.
All right.
And I don't want to do it without him. And the reason why we're having him on, just so you know, is I first of all, I'm smart enough to know that I don't want to have this conversation without a full representation. So we have Hispanic, I'm white, and obviously Fred's black. So
and that's full enough that that's the whole spectrum: white, brown, black.
Yeah, I'm not trying.
Everybody falls in that spectrum somewhere,
sort of.
Except yellow.
Not to get mad at
Asian doesn't fall into that.
Not to get mad at them.
Lewis.
What's up, Fred? Welcome to the Couch Live. No, this is not the Couch Live. The Dharma Time.
Wow. Welcome to Dharma Time, man, on WPSN.
Hey, Lewis. Hold on, Lewis.
Okay.
Hold on.
Nice. We just got hold it on. We just got shushed.
We're shushed.
We got shushed. Shh, be quiet.
That means he's leaving the restaurant.
Yeah, he's a very busy man.
He was at lunch.
Yeah.
Eating a Fred Stokes sausage, I bet.
Oh, man, those things are so good.
If you want a Fred Stokes sausage, by the way, quick plug, go to Westgate Resorts. Any Westgate Resort sells Fred Stokes sausage.
They do.
Louis, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, go ahead.
Right on. Hey, what's up, man? This is Trinity. You remember, welcome to Dharma Time, man. Not bad. Are you ready to have this talk, man? I know you were leaving a business meeting and you were gonna try to find a quiet place. Are you ready?
Yeah, we're just finishing up, but yeah, we can go ahead. Or what you got?
It's our time now, man. It's our time. We're jealous.
We're live or what?
Yes, sir. You're live right now.
Okay, we can do it now. Let's go ahead.
All right.
Right on. So I'm not sure. Well, you were at a meeting, so you didn't hear it, but we have had a conversation. But just to preface this all before we get into it, today we're talking about unconscious bias, and we're talking about how it relates to race, things of that nature. And one of the what prompted all this is, I'm sure you're aware of the Starbucks incident where the two gentlemen were asked to leave because they weren't paying customers, and the cops got involved and things of that nature. And so, assuming you've heard about that, what are your thoughts on that one before we get started?
Yeah, for real, man, I think it's par for the course.
Okay.
You know, what's happening now is a lot of video on all levels, from hashtag Me Too to, you know, child abuse, you know, husbands doing crazy stuff,
Right.
you know, people at school shootings. I think the access to video and the media has put it in fast forward. So I think it's just par for the course. We're just hearing, we're seeing it, and it's been happening, but we're just seeing it. So it's like, oh my God, we're shocked. But you know what I'm saying? Right. But dude, it's been happening.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was telling Trinity. I was like, you know, it didn't shock me that it happened because,
Right.
you know, those of us that have been in similar situations, it's like, well, this happens all the time. You know, I think the shocking part is that it's actually news right now, meaning things
Right.
must be really getting better that this is news.
That's right. Well, I don't know if it's getting better. I think that what's happening is people are slower, just like kids. Kids are slow to realize, hey, when you text something, when you tweet it, they call it the World Wide Web for a reason.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
when you put it out there, the whole world can see it.
Yeah.
And until you consciously wrap your brain around that, you're not discreet. You still put your business in the streets.
Right.
And so people are still doing things and not understanding that, or they don't care in some situations. They're still doing it, and it's being picked up by the media or somebody videoing it or something. And then they come back, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. We apologize, yada, yada, yada.
Right.
No, you meant what you said. You just sorry you got caught. That's
Right.
that's where I look at it.
Okay. Well, I guess let me start out with a poll, because I put a poll on my Facebook, and the poll was:
Okay.
do you have an unconscious, or do you think you have an unconscious bias towards a certain group of people? And this was actually the closest poll I've had, Louis. You know, I've done a lot of polls.
Yeah,
and-
because
and-
yours are typically
yeah, my polls are usually like landslides on one side or the other.
92%, 98%.
This one was actually 62% yes and 38% no. Now myself and Louis both were on the yes. We think we have an unconscious bias.
Right.
Fred, you said no. Explain that one.
Yeah, what's up with that?
I want to hear that.
Well, I don't. As I think about it, I try to be consciously aware of my surroundings. I try to. I mean, my personal mission statement, guys, is to positively enhance the life of every person I meet or encounter. That's
Right.
my personal mission statement. So I
like
go
that.
into the game trying to see how I can positively enhance your life or your day. So, you know, if you're around me for any length of time, I mean, there's going to be some smiling going on unless something very
Right.
tragic has happened in my life. And, you know, that's just me. So, yeah, we're all human. Yeah. And so I'm sure that I've had some situations where, you know, without thinking, I might have, oh, wow, you know, thought a way I shouldn't have thought, or, and I'm trying not to say anything that I don't mean, I don't want to say. And I just looked at my phone too. For some reason, guys, my battery is low, but let's keep rolling. Let's keep rolling.
Is it because I'm white? Is it because I'm white? That's messed up,
Excuse
man.
me?
Is it because I'm white? That's not cool, man.
No, it has nothing to do with that. But you know what? There are some. I mean, I was on a plane once. I've been on a plane a lot, but there's two white gentlemen, and the guy was in front of me, and he had a business suit on, and so I'm standing there as we get ready to exit the plane, and this guy was just he just had no patience. And he's, you know, kind of moving past different people and I'm like, dude, we got to all get off in a minute. And then he reaches over this guy, leans into him, reaches over the guy to get his bag. And it's just like, he's just disrespectful.
Right.
But both of the gentlemen were white.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, and I shared it with my wife, I said, now, if the guy that was being reached over was black, I probably would have said in my mind, if that would have been a white guy, he wouldn't have done that. But what I do, guys, is this. I told my kids this. They're just some idiots in the world.
Right.
Yeah.
And of all races, background, creeds, whatever. It's just some idiots.
Right.
So I try to get back to that, and that's exactly what I did. And I go, you know what? No, that guy's just an idiot.
Well, and I think you touch on something important there.
Yeah.
Right. And kind of, I think that's the overwhelming consensus that we're going to try to push out today, and that is, it's okay to have bias. Like, it's okay. It's normal. It's a human thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's what you do with them.
Yeah.
It's how you react to that.
Yeah.
Do you say to yourself, you know what, this is true, and I'm going to run with it, and you start disrespecting people and treating them badly, or do you say to yourself, nah, I don't know if that's true.
Right, and now that he's qualified his answer, I can't call BS on him.
No, I can't either.
Because I wanted to call BS on you, Fred, because I was like, man, we all have some sort of bias within us that maybe we're working on, but it comes out and we go, wow, there it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
well, you know what?
Because we're not perfect.
No.
But Louis, I do to a sense, because I don't eat a lot of burgers. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So I've got some food biases but it doesn't have anything to do with the burger itself.
Right.
So I've got some biases.
You weren't offended by the burger?
My bias doesn't have to do with the color of your skin.
Right.
Or where you're from. I may just,
But it just doesn't have to do with that.
No, I have a list here, right? The list I wrote down of the bias, right? Just
it could be sausages. You're biased because you're biased towards sausage.
Well, you know what? His sausages.
Fred Stokes sausages.
I was giving this correctly. Not just sausages, baby, but Fred Stokes sausages.
I came up with a list.
I need to give you my other number too, guys, just in case, because I'm enjoying our conversation. Can I do that, or we have to stay live?
Text it to me. Text it to me.
Text it to him.
Okay.
So
while you're talking.
Keep talking.
So
Go ahead, Trini.
the list that I came up with, right? Like I try to do my best to kind of look what's going on, and there's a list I came up with which I think kind of evoke some sort of a biasness with everybody who hears it for the most part. And the list I came up with was Muslim, Christian, Black, White, Mexican, Republican, Millennial, Liberal, Police, Veterans, what else? I can't even remember. Homeless, Politician, and Trump voters.
Yeah,
I think each one of those groups.
Now you can add medical marijuana supporter.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, I just think that when people hear that, they have a certain biasness. They have a certain thought in their head. When you hear like Trump voter, for instance, a lot of people think a certain kind of a way. They have a certain bias. If you hear somebody was a Trump voter prior to interacting with them, you're most likely going to think a certain thing.
Right.
Doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong or right. It's just you're going to have an opinion in your head right away.
Well, you know what? You're right on that, Trini. I think and I heard somebody say that when you know a person's story, it's hard. Hey, excuse me, no. I need to get something out. Yeah, come on. I just need to get the phone out. He said when you know their story, it's hard to hate the person.
Absolutely.
When you know their story.
Right.
You got a guy who abuses kids, or he abuses his wife, but he found out that he was abused when he was a kid. And not an excuse, but I know why he abuses kids.
Right.
Yeah, there's a little bit more understanding.
Thank you. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So that's where I try to let my biases. I'm like, okay, why is this happening? So I do take it a step farther, guys. I mean, and this is no fluff or just because we're talking about this issue. This is just the way I try to live my life.
Yeah, I like it.
Well, and that's why you're being interviewed, by the way.
That's why we picked you.
Yeah, because we thought you would have a good mindset and you'd be able to kind of offer some value to this discussion.
Right.
Basically.
Right. Matter of fact, now, let me call the other number right now, and so that you don't have to worry about it. Okay.
Okay. Give me. I'm walking because I walked away from it. Keep talking because I'm walking to it right now in 30 seconds.
Okay. Well,
but even the Trump, even when you talk about Trump voter, right? Or Democrat, my wife and I are in a position. We've grown together after 29 years. We didn't even tell anybody. Okay, are you Democrat, Republican? But no, I vote a certain way, and it has nothing to do with the direct party line, even though that line is being blurred.
Right.
Because I don't want to just say I'm this and I'm gonna vote that, because the guy could be an axe murderer and like, yep, I'm a Democrat. I'm voting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
there's one thing though that I was going to mention, or I was talking about prior to getting you on the phone, that I didn't want to talk about fully until we got you on the phone.
Okay, and you can call the other number anytime you get ready.
Okay.
Well, all right, let me do that.
Yeah, go ahead and do that real quick.
All right.
Okay.
All right, go ahead and hang up that line.
Right on.
All right, go ahead and explain what you were saying.
Sure. Well, I want to make sure he hears this one because I want his opinion.
Oh, okay.
But it has to do with what I was talking about with race.
There we go.
Hey, there you go, buddy.
Keep going.
All right. So, and I talked to you about this a little bit before, a couple days ago when we were on the phone. But I'm gonna repeat it for the listeners. So I had a buddy of mine, and we were talking, and he's my go-to. I talk to him a lot about race relations, and I try to get his perspective on things, and we talk it all out. And he said one thing to me that kind of blew my mind a little bit, and it was something that kind of woke me up, I guess, to the like the white privilege, I guess, that people don't know we even have, and that is, he told me that as a white person, I've never had to get the impression, whether it be I'm taught that way, whether I see it on TV, movies, or whatever. I've never gotten the impression or the feeling that I'm less than another race.
Okay.
I don't know what that feels like. And when he said that to me, I was like, wow, I never really looked at it that way. And I never understood that. But talking to him, it kind of opened my mind a little bit because he's right. In my life growing up, I've never had to know what it's like to feel or be told that I'm less than. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one thing that the white people don't understand. And it makes it hard for us sometimes to understand because we can't relate to that.
Right.
Man, that is, Trinity, that is so strong because, I wear a size 15 shoe.
Yeah, you're a big dude. You're a big dude.
I wear probably 40. I get 38 length just because I wear boots. So I like my jeans to be long, even though I'm probably 36. But I get 40 or 38, right?
Right.
And so I've got a mindset when I walk into a store, the person says, "Hey, can I help you?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't know. Do you have 15?" I go right to, "Do you have 15s?" I don't want to look around. I don't want to waste my time.
Right.
And so when a person says, "Hey, I bought 3 suits," or "I bought several pair of shoes," I'm going, my mindset doesn't allow me to walk into that store, Men's Warehouse, wherever, and say, I can get 3 suits off the rack.
Right. Yeah, same here. You and I are about the same size, so I know.
Yeah, exactly. Automatically, my mind is already going, they're not going to have it.
Yeah.
It's been stressful back when I was younger to deal with that. Size 15, not being able to find pants. The reference I'm making is this. Unless you've been there, as you said, Trina, unless you've been there and a person doesn't like you, not because they found out that you were a murderer or that you were a child molester.
Right.
They just look at you and the color of your skin and say, I hate you.
Right.
You don't know that. You don't even know me.
Right.
Yeah. It's like I had to learn to hate the Dallas Cowboys. And when I was with the Rams.
Hey, I hate them too, brother. I hate them too.
Listen, when I was with the Rams, I hated the 49ers.
Oh, hey.
Then when I signed with the Redskins, I was like, okay, I don't hate the 49ers anymore. I hate the Cowboys.
That's funny. That's funny.
That's awesome.
Well,
that's a great point you made, though. That's a really good point.
I tell our mutual friend, Darryl Strawberry, I hated him when I was growing up because he was playing the Phillies and it always knocked them home runs. So I didn't like him too much either.
But Louis, you hated him why? Because he played for your opposing team.
Because he was so damn good.
Yeah, he's
playing for the opposing team. And now I love him to death.
Today too,
yeah, I always joke with him. I said, man, I sometimes I just look at him. I said, I can't believe how much I hated you, and I love you, man.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
that's right.
I just but I think that the reason why I wanted to have this show was just I think that there's not enough discussion these days. I think that people get so uncomfortable that they don't have the talk, and they don't learn anything. And that's why I'm grateful when things like this happen with the Starbucks or the Kanye West things that are taking place. I'm grateful because it forces me to ask questions, and it reminds me how much I don't know.
That's right. And if you ask questions to try to get me closer to the center, then I don't mind you asking me those questions if I'm getting closer to the center. But if you just want to ask questions, have a dialogue, and there's no objective, there's no positive outcome, and it's just for people to start arguing back and forth.
Right.
I mean, we don't need to be talking.
Yeah, of course.
Because you're not going to understand anyway.
Exactly.
Right.
And the other thing that I always thought curious, and Louis and I were talking about this.
That was a real good point. By the way,
it was a great point. That's why he's on the air, man.
Yeah.
That's why we called him.
Yeah. No, that was a real good point because Trinity just went through that, just experienced some of that. We're not going to get into it, but you just experienced some of that.
I did. Yeah.
There was no desire to get to a point.
Yeah.
There was just a desire to argue.
Yeah.
And so it made it very difficult for Trinity to have a conversation, with this other person because everything was just argumentative. But go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But the other thing that I find interesting, right, and I've had this conversation, and Lou and I talked about it a little bit before going on air. My buddy, actually, a buddy of mine, Terrence, if you're listening, what's up, brother? We were talking about this the other day, and I've known Terrence for a long time now. He's probably my brother from another mother. We're best friends. And one of the things I asked him was, like, I was trying to figure out what does he think that separates the thinking process, right? Because when I talk to him, he's not about anything other than being human first. And so I asked him the other day, for the first time since I've known him, actually, I asked him, I was like, dude, are you proud to be black? And he said yes. He said, but he wears it differently now. Like when he was younger, like NWA, things of that nature, like it was a much different perspective than it is now that he's grown. And I thought that was interesting because for me personally, as a white person, I'm not really proud to be white. I never really think about it. And I see like a lot of my Hispanic friends and even Louis, they come in with their Mexican flags and their Puerto Rican flags. They're very proud.
Right.
And nowadays with the Black Panther and all this other stuff, like there's a lot of pride. And I always find it interesting because for me, I've never really looked into it. I never cared. I've never just been like, yeah, I'm whatever. Although I will say with the 23andMe, I do got some Viking in me, so I'm cool with that. But
yeah, you might start wearing a Viking horns.
Not Minnesota Vikings, legitimate Vikings.
Right.
But you know what though, Trinity? Here's the thing: you never thought about saying I'm proud to be white because your color, your skin color, your ethnicity was never challenged. And
I agree.
And I speak a lot about mindset, right? So there's this huge thing about mindset. It's like if you think you can't, you won't. You know what I'm saying? But if you think you can, you will.
Right.
And there's a saying, I forget the slogan that says the guy who thinks he can't and the guy that thinks he can, both of them are right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so you've never had to, you've never had your manhood challenge. You've never had your ethnicity because so those are not things that have depleted you as a man. And so when you talk about the pride, Black pride, Asian, Hispanic, whatever, it's the fact that somebody's got to tell you, hey, you are worth something. You are worth something. You are worth something. You have value. You have purpose. All of those things. And you go, wow, I do. And it's not because the color of your skin that you have purpose or value. It's because that you're a human being. It's like you have a right to have a right.
Now,
that's just, you know what I'm saying?
Right. I'm curious now, did you have this mindset prior to going into like the NFL, for instance? Or do you think the NFL helped shape some of this mindset?
No, you know what? My mom did a lot of this.
Yeah, it's always the moms, right? It's always the moms.
Growing up in the South, she was strong on not having a respect of person. She was big about, you are somebody. Don't let anybody tell you you're not. And she was saying it as white and black, but she was saying, don't let anybody tell you you don't have value, because you do.
Right.
So she kind of put that in me earlier, so I was able to put that in my boys. And raising African American Black boys in this society is tough because of all the other issues we've seen, and we don't have to go into those details. But Trinity, to your point, and Louis, to your point, when you're white, you don't have to have that mindset of I've got white pride,
right.
But you do have to have it if you're of another ethnicity,
right?
And it's sad. It's sad. But that's just the life. That's just the world we live in.
Yeah, I was telling Trinity. By the way, to me, it wasn't the mother. It was my dad. My dad was the one that always told us that you're not a minority. That don't think like a minority. Don't think like a victim. This country is much bigger and better than anyone you're currently meeting. So when people say these comments, he goes, "That's not what this country represents." He goes, "They don't represent this country." He always told me that they don't represent this country. They don't represent that flag. My dad was a 25-year war veteran, command sergeant major, retired from Puerto Rico. My mother was Mexican, or is, both of them is. They're both alive. But my father was the one that instilled in me to not think like a minority. And I would have to come tell him. I'd say, "But Dad, you don't understand what they say sometimes." And I would try to kind of engage him like that. He goes, "No, I understand it. It's happened to me." He goes, "I just don't deal with it. I don't play with it like that." Right. My dad is the only flag my dad's ever flown is the American flag. My dad's never flown the Puerto Rican flag. When it was real in style for everyone to put Puerto Rican flags in their car, he just looked at me and said, "Don't do it. Don't do it." He goes, so my dad is kind of against that, even though he says it's good to be prideful that you're Mexican and Puerto Rican. He said, "But you're an American first." He goes, "So that's the highest flag you fly. As long as you fly that flag higher than all the rest, I'm good." And so that's the way we were raised. And so I'm glad he did that, because I went through a lot of self-victimization earlier, like you said, Fred, because of the things that were said, and because it helped me unite with others. Because when people would say things about how my whether it be our accent, whether it be my parents' accent, whether it be the food that we do, our some cultural differences, I found a lot of peace in hanging out with people who had the same food, the same parents with the same accents. It just made it. We didn't have those arguments or discussions, or there was that insecurity didn't exist. It was just an alliance. And what I found myself doing is aligning with the Asian kids and the black kids, because we all had something in common. And so, but there was a time, and what's weird is you mentioned NWA, and we were listening to Public Enemy earlier. Yeah. I listen to Public Enemy and NWA now and see how so not that was for me. But at that time, they were speaking the same messages that I was feeling.
Sure.
So even though it was all about black pride, I was hearing it like all of us. Anybody who's ever felt oppressed or anyone who's ever felt judged. So I'm just glad to be out of that age group. And I think you're right. I'm glad I have daughters now instead of sons, because I don't know if I'd be the same empathetic, kind man. I'd hope that I would be. But I like the kind of father that you are, Fred, and the way you're raising your boys, because that is a challenge.
Well, you know what? I heard someone say, to your point about your kids, Louis, is that it was for us as an African-American, as a black community, I heard someone say, man, I am so grateful that President Obama and Michelle had daughters and not sons.
Wow.
Because it's think about it. I mean, the Bushes had daughters,
right?
But it's something about raising boys in a society that says you're less than just because and think about it, Louis, if your dad had been on the other end of the spectrum and said, you're better than.
Right.
Less than, you're better than, and they're like, so now you grow up thinking you're better than everybody else, not because you're athletic, not because you're intelligent, but only because of the color of your skin. And that's just wrong in every sense of the way. That you're better than me just because your skin color and you didn't have a choice in your skin color.
Right.
You're better than me. No. Let's get on the football field. Let's run. If you're better than me, you can outrun me, or you're smarter than me. Okay, cool.
Right.
But don't say you're better than me just because you look at our outward appearance. That's not fair. But you had that person in your life that was constantly telling you the otherwise.
Right.
And think about the people who have a man in their lives who are saying you're better than that culture or that race. They're less than you. They need to kiss your feet and all that kind of stuff. Now you grow up with the entitlement and privileged attitude that says anybody that's different color than I am, I'm better than they are.
Or the anger. Yeah, my dad just didn't give me his anger. He didn't tell me his stories of oppression, so it didn't become my problem.
That's right.
I think on that note, I think I'm lucky as well because, talking about our parents, I think my mom instilled a different belief in me as well. Like, I was never led to believe I was better than anybody, and my mom, my mom always, I remember I had plenty of friends back in the day and she never cared what color they were. She never worried about it. I can think of 2 or 3 people right now in my head that were struggling when we were kids. And she opened her home to them, and she fed them. She gave them a place to stay, and things of that nature.
That's a big deal at that age group, to be that age group.
Yeah, and so I think that for me, as an early age, it was instilled in me that it doesn't matter. Like, we're all the same, And so I think growing up, it never was just an issue for me, Right,
right.
And for us too, my area, it was more of a socioeconomic status as well. I mean, we didn't have a whole lot of money growing up, so the people I hung out with didn't have money either. And that's kind of what bonded us together. Right. Was regardless of our color, none of us really had a lot of money. So we're all kind of struggling, to make ends meet as well. So, I think that was huge for me, not buying into that. Because being the fact that I'm white, I hear it sometimes. I've got people who will feel a certain kind of a bond just because we're both white. And they'll let something slip every now and then. They'll say a certain kind of a thing, and it's just like, wow, where did you get that mindset, man? Wow, that's just not true.
Well, you know what, guys, I wouldn't even let our boys say the N-word in our house, not at all, not at all, because, I explained to them this way. I said, guys, if I'm wearing a blue shirt, and I don't want you to say it's a blue shirt, but I can say it's a blue shirt all day long, and then you say it's a blue shirt, and I get mad with you. Well, Dad, you said it was blue. Yeah, but I don't want you to say it's blue. Well, why? Because, but I don't want you to say it. But you're saying it, and so I just did not allow it. I did not allow it, and I did not allow. We didn't. If they would listen to music that was that way, we talked about it, and we homeschooled our kids for the first 8 years of their school terms. But I just didn't. I just wasn't having it because I didn't want that, again, mindset in my home to say don't believe the hype.
Right.
Don't get caught up into that, and you can say it. But then when somebody else says it, it's a derogatory or it's a negative connotation. Now we want to fight. But I just heard you guys saying it like 3 minutes ago. Yeah, but you can't say it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I think that's kind of where we're at now that I see a lot. And it's not even just black and white anymore. Like the whole list I went down. just, right off the top of my head, millennial. Right? People say the word millennial, and instantly we all think, oh, gosh, millennials are ruining everything, whatever.
Right.
There's a bias against them. If I tell you that, hey, there's this guy coming in who's got a really good business opportunity, we want to hear it out, he's a millennial. A lot of times people are like, oh, gosh, what's this person going to have to say,
You're going to be skating through the office.
Yeah, but I've met tons of millennials who are brilliant, who are making change in the world right now.
Right.
And so I think we do have these biases.
Yeah, because some biases are actually positive. Like somebody, like
Well, yeah.
Me being half Mexican, I mean, it's like there's very little. The only positive that people give us, it seems to be that we're hardworking.
Right.
You know what I mean? All the rest,
right.
there's a lot of negative biases. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like, oh man, you guys are hardworking. They'll look at me like, yeah, because you guys are hardworking.
Yeah.
Like you're
But
different.
Dude, no, that's not you guys. You ran into a couple of guys that work hard. That doesn't mean that we all work hard. You know what I'm saying? Every guy that's 6'4" and weighs 275 pounds don't play in the NFL.
Right.
Yeah, they should.
I've seen a guy. This guy, for real, guys. I played with a guy. He bench pressed 315 pounds, like almost 30 times, 29 times to be exact. 29 times,
geez.
300. So you got the guys in the combine. They're bench pressing 225, right? And some of them bench pressing 20 times, 25 times. You go, ooh. This guy did 315 pounds 29 times.
Wow.
Right.
He played in the NFL 1 year.
Wow.
So he was strong as all outdoors,
Right.
but it didn't guarantee his position in NFL. So you can't say all guys who can bench press 600 pounds and run a 4.3 going to be in the NFL. All guys who look like me are hard working. No, you met a couple of guys that work hard. I'm lazy, man. I don't like working hard. You know what I'm saying?
Well, no,
find somebody else to work for me, man. I ain't working hard.
Yeah, I want to work
you
smarter.
You can relate to this
That's
too.
right. That's right, Lou. I'm working smarter, baby, not harder.
Not all guys who are over 6 foot and have a truck want to help you move either. How about that?
That's right.
I'm just gonna put that out there.
That's another good one.
I don't want to help you move. I'm big and I got a truck, but I don't want to help you move.
I don't want to help you move, but I got a truck, and I don't want to put anything on the back of it.
Exactly.
Hey, Trini, can you carry that box down to the car for me?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the other one, I was watching a show last night, even right, and the show I was watching was doing like an expose on homeless people, and I think that's another one.
Yeah.
Right. We have a bias against homeless people as a society. We all just assume that they choose to be there, or there's tons of different things that are wrong with them.
That they did something wrong.
Yeah. But the one that they showed was a gentleman who was making a ton of money, was doing his thing, living upscale, had a stroke, and it kind of put him on the streets for a while. And now he's worked his way back up, and he's got his own place, and he's doing well.
Wow.
But while he was on the streets, people were looking at him like he was garbage, like he was trash.
Right.
And they had this huge bias against him. All they saw was homeless.
Right.
They
Well,
didn't
there was
see
a guy that actually
did
did it. He did a study on that. I think he was in San Francisco somewhere. He was very, very well-to-do guy. Might have been out there in the tech market somewhere. But he did that for like a month or two or something. Might have longer than that. But went homeless just to see how people will respond to that. And yes, we do put all the homeless. I mean, I understand it too. There are some unconscious bias, and I try to guard against that. But we're human, and so we're going to have some things that we can't guard against. But I try not to let it be in a position where I'm demeaning anybody, degrading anybody, or making anybody else feel less than they were purposed to be.
Well, I mean,
I'm not doing that.
let's address that for a second, actually, because that's the other thing that I want to put out there is where is that line?
Well, some of it is a protection. I have daughters.
Yeah.
There's some guys that I would say, please don't bring him around me. Or don't hang out around him. I mean, there's some people. In my big thing, my unconscious bias goes to the child molester looking guy. I hate
white
this.
people?
No, they don't look like you though. There is a look it appears to be, and it's very. I know I'm biased. I know that I deal with that. However, if you looked at a whole bunch of grouping of it almost looks like there's a look, and I don't want to believe that. I don't wish to believe that.
Right.
It's just. There's a creepiness about the way a certain person is,
Right.
and the way they kind of hang out around younger people that makes me tell my daughters, if you see a guy act like that, kind of look like that, and just kind of like making jokes like that or making comments like that, stay away.
Well,
you gotta have certain things that like that, obviously. Yeah.
Well, the other thing the example that I used prior to when Louie and I were talking, right, and this is where I think that there has to be a discussion, not necessarily amongst us, but just in general, there has to be a discussion. And that is, let's say, I've got a store, right? And this is how I feed my family. This is how I live my life. And I've got a store, and I've had this store for 10 years. And in that 10 years, I've had a lot of shoplifters. And those shoplifters, typically, the ones I personally busted in my store, have a certain look to them. And if I'm sitting here on a Sunday afternoon, a white soccer mom comes into my store, and right behind her, two people with gold teeth and pants around their ankles and things of that nature come in the store, who am I going to follow? Well, as a store owner trying to protect my investment, I'm going to follow the two black guys who just did that because the 90% of the people I've busted are them.
Right.
That doesn't make me racist. That means me trying to protect my investment. And I think that we have to talk about that.
Trinity, but the deal is, though, here's the thing. That's where your bias comes in. And in fact, because I share that with my boys, I share that with my nephews, and any other guys that look like my boys. And I'm saying, I'm saying that, guys, if you got 2 or 3, 4 or 5 earrings in your ear, if you got several tattoos on your body, if your hair is braided or dreads, or if your pants are hanging down, you may be a scholar athlete. You may be the world's smartest person, but because of what I see, now I've got to get past the earrings, I've got to get past the hair, I've got to get past the tattoos and the clothes. But I'm not going to get past all that because I'm already going to judge you based off of, like you said, Trent, I'm going to follow you around the store. I'm like, man, this dude may have all the money in the world, but you know.
And then you add not smiling. Then you add a hard face.
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing. The softer your voice, like I do a soft voice when I'm in public. Like I'll say, hey, how you doing? I consciously do a soft voice because I remember the way we would walk in the store, we'd always be packed up. It'd be a bunch of us.
Yeah.
And we walked in packs, went around in packs, and we just looked aggressive. We walked aggressive, you know, and of course we were getting in trouble because we didn't take any responsibility at how the world looked at us. We just assumed that because we are who we are, that you already don't like us, so we want to let you know, don't mess with us. It was already, we want to let you know up front.
That's right. That's right. I'm going to look hard.
Yeah. And then you wonder why people treat you that way.
Yeah, and never understood why. I used to tell my wife, I don't understand why the cops are messing with me. She goes, did you see the way you talk to them? She had to teach me that even after I was clean, even after I was a good, responsible person in this community, I still had to be taught that I projected myself as aggressive towards law enforcement and disrespectful towards law enforcement. So I had to learn how to soften that up. My wife taught me that.
That's well,
I thought I was being normal.
Mine too. Like, and Fred, you can. I mean, you and I are very similar in size, but I have all the tattoos and the piercings and stuff that you were talking about, and so I've had to deal with that. I've had to learn that I might not intend to, but I can come off very intimidating to some people.
Right.
And so I've had to learn to adjust my speech patterns or kind of just realize how I could come off. Like I've had to do that.
Right.
Now, Trinity, to put your size, because yes, we've seen each other. Put your size, those tattoos, and you walk in and you got the look. So let's combine the three of us. You got my skin color, you got your tattoos, but you got the hard look that Louis has. Guess what? You're going to be followed.
I'm going to get shot by the cops.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. No, and that's where the bias comes in.
That's a trio combination. The hard look, your tattoos, my skin color.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a good combination.
No, not at all.
No. And you're absolutely right. And that's something I had to take responsibility because I wanted a different reaction from this community, from this world.
Right.
And you know, because I was sick of feeling like a victim, even though I wasn't raised that way. I was putting myself in that situation. I was sick of being angry. You know what I mean? But once I dealt with that anger, I realized that I didn't want that old lady to get off the elevator. She was getting off the elevator. You know, at one time I had real long hair, I had a real long beard, or a big beard. I had an earring. I was wearing all black. I was wearing boots. I was wearing black leather jacket. And I realized, wow, as much as I like this look for me, this look doesn't open any doors for me. The only doors this opens for me is that it allows me to go into any neighborhood and be accepted. I was able, in the bad neighborhoods, not the good ones, it allowed me to go into the hood and be accepted. But you know what? That's not where I wanted to succeed. Succeeding in the hood was not going to get me where I wanted in life.
No.
That wasn't going to get the kind of dollars that I wanted out of my life, and it wasn't going to get me the kind of lifestyle that I wanted. I wanted to be able to assimilate, and it doesn't mean a sellout. It just means, look, we all have to just, you know, ask yourself, is this the way you want to project yourself? Is that so important to me to look and act a certain way that I'm willing to give up all the money for that? No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. See, but you have to grow. Either you grow into that, or like you said, and we've had it, each one of us, where somebody teaches you that, and allow time to have its perfect place, and let that soak in like a long rain.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because it took me a while to get it. It's taken my kids a while to get it, but they have it. And my boys, both of my boys, have married outside of their race. My middle son, my oldest son went to Chattanooga, University of Tennessee, Chattanooga, played basketball. He and his wife have been married 2 years this month. My middle son is getting married the 22nd of next month. Right. He went to Vanderbilt, and he's marrying his college sweetheart. And then my youngest son is at Stanford University in Birmingham.
All white girls?
Both of my boys, both of them have married white girls. And my daughters they're beautiful, man. I love them. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, they call me dad. I mean, it's just, but you see what happened is that they were prepared for that when they were little, to accept the person just as they are. And I didn't know. I'm like, guys, just make sure you marry somebody that loves you back.
Right.
And it doesn't matter what she looks like, whether it's, hey, all I was saying was, and this is not to knock anybody else's choices, but I said, I want it to be a girl.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I married a white girl too, and I got to tell you, even though my family was great with it, there was people that I know that would, especially Spanish girls, they'd be like, "Why? Why are you with a white girl?"
Oh yeah.
Like I was disrespecting Latinas. You know what I mean? Like, what's wrong with Spanish girls? You went with a white girl because you can control her or something like that. And I would, you got to be out of your mind.
Well, I used to get that. Well, I used to get that a lot actually. There was a guy I used to work with who was just one of those guys.
Right.
And he was very disappointed in me because the mother of my children was Hispanic.
Right.
And he was just very mad because he thought that I knew better, and he had his own opinions on things that I disagreed with.
Yeah.
But I got that too.
Yeah.
I definitely got the whole. He used to be
I had
more.
a couple of girls that were in my race. My wife is black, but I had a couple of girls that were also black, but they were crazy. So it's like, like, okay, you're black, you're good. No, you're crazy. I'm not. You got to have more, and you got to have more in the criteria of want category than just we the same race. Okay, good. Same race?
Right.
Okay, great. Yeah.
No. I used to joke with my wife. I said she was the only white girl I went out with that wasn't a stripper. I said, I'm kidding though, but I'm just saying. We all have those little things though. But you said something earlier, Trinity, that you should talk about again while we're on the air.
What's that?
Is that when you do something like that, it's almost like a success thing, though. It's not like a negative. It's like anyone could bring home a white girl.
Oh yeah, well
for some reason. What's up with that?
Well, the thing I used to have,
you bring home a Mexican, you might get a little different response.
Well, I had so I used to talk to my buddy who was he's Boricua, he's Spanish, from Puerto Rico, and we used to talk, and he would tell me, and I heard this from my black friends as well,
right?
Like in their family times, like my black buddy would tell me that. Bring home. He would have to either bring home a Spanish or black in order for his community to accept him. Because if he brought home a white girl, they would all the black girls would get mad at him and everything else.
Yeah.
My Spanish friend told me that in his community, if he brought home a black girl, he was the basically exiled. Like how dare you? You can't bring home a black girl.
Yeah.
If you brought home a Spanish girl, cool, okay. Right. If you brought home a white girl, it was like congratulations.
Yeah, it's like weird. It's like weird.
Yeah, they had all their own little biases, what they were allowed to do, not to do. Like the one that they all agreed on was don't bring home a black girl.
Wow.
Or a black guy.
You know what, though? You know where that goes to your point on that bias is that you're saying congratulations because you're saying I'm less than the white girl. That's a trophy.
Yeah.
That's what they were saying.
Yeah, because I'm saying bring home a girl. Bring home girl guys. And I told my boys this, guys. I said, listen, guys, there's some girls out there who would kick your tail. They'll beat you up.
Yeah.
But you still have to treat those girls with respect.
Right.
So I was trying to let my boys know, treat all women with respect. Now, some of them won't deserve it, and they won't appreciate it, but you still have to be respectful.
Yeah.
So that was the other mindset. And so I said, and also, too, whatever she looks like, if she loves you, then we're going to love her.
Right.
That's it. That's the only criteria, that she loves you and you love her. I'm cool.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, my youngest daughter is dating a black guy right now, and he's the coolest guy there is. And it's like he actually asked me permission to go out with her, just like my oldest daughter's boyfriend.
That's awesome.
And he's a Colombian kid, and they both asked me permission. I just thought, aside from everything else, not that I'm that kind of guy anyway, but the fact that they didn't know if I was going to be accepting or not, but the fact that they were very respectful like that, I thought was just really cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
You know what I mean? So when you have something like that, it makes you sad that some people can't do that in today's age.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I can understand in the 80s when I grew up, but I would be very sad to hear of a story in today's age, 2018, where somebody can't date someone outside their race.
Well, that's the beginning of our conversation. It's happening. It happens all the time.
Right.
I'm not, and I know you guys are not naive enough to know that it's not. And really, when I see it, going back to original conversation of Starbucks issues, and a lot of the other issues that we've seen on that have been televised through somebody videoing it.
Right.
It happens. I've had it happen to me. I've experienced, stuff like that, where somebody just was calling me out of my name, you know, and I've had people to do all kind of stuff just because of the color of my skin, but it happens. So I keep it moving. I don't discount who I am. I'm still valuable. I still have purpose and meaning. It's just that person is an idiot.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. How do you feel about the attack like Snoop Dogg did on Kanye? You know, saying that he's no longer, you know, that he's not a black guy because he lost his black card because he's puts on a Make America Great Again hat.
Either Kanye West is one or two at either end of this spectrum. Either he's crazy out of his mind. Really. I mean, I thought he was crazy when he took the mic from our girl.
I think he's just trying to sell records, personally.
Yeah, and but either he's crazy out of his mind, or he really is a genius because all he wants to do is sell records and albums. But that's a bad way to do it. Yeah. And I mean, if he's not crazy, he's going to pay for some of the decisions, but that's his choice, man.
Right.
That's the thing about America is you have choice, but don't. When I have my own choice, don't knock me for my choices, and that's either my dating choices, my lifestyle choices, whatever it is. Right. You get to choose, but don't. Hey, as they say, you can choose your actions, but you can't choose the consequences.
Right
on those actions.
But he can't lose his black card, though.
He's still black.
Listen. Here's the thing. He doesn't understand the magnitude of what he's saying, and I understand what he was saying in his mind. I saw one of the.
You're talking about the slave thing? Oh yeah, the slavery.
Well, he's talking about the mentality. I understand what he said he was trying to say, but no, I heard what he said. But hey, there are other people out there that think that way. They're just not opening their mouth.
Yeah. No, I think the slavery. Yeah, and I was just talking about when he was getting attacked before the slavery comments was the hat.
Yeah, because he hung out with Trump.
Yeah, and I thought that was ridiculous that he was being attacked for the hat. But then when he came out with the slavery comments, I couldn't even defend him anymore. He crossed the line there.
Somebody told me he dropped his album or something 3 days after.
Yeah, he's got like 3 of them coming out.
Record sales.
Yeah, I think he's just trying to sell.
I mean, you get what you know what I'm saying? If you plant apples and you looking for oranges, you're in trouble. Dude, he's going to get what he's planting.
Dude, he's selling homeless clothing. You got to give it to him, man. Anybody that can sell clothing that's homeless.
Well, he's in another world, man. But you know, he's got an interesting cat. As my mom used to say, he made that bed up, so he's got to lay in it.
Yeah, you're gonna reap what you sow on that one.
Yep. Yes, sir, brother.
So, I got to do my 3 tips, man. You want to hang out for that one, or you want to go ahead and head out?
Go ahead. I'm here.
All right. Well, I'm going to do my 3 tips now. We're getting ready to close things up. We only got a couple minutes. First of all, do you want to go ahead and promote anything, man? Your sausages, something like that you want to put out there?
Well, you know what? If you go to Petty's in Longwood, the Meat House in Winter Park, Winter Garden, you can go to Pig Floyd's on Colonial and their location in Lake Nona. You also got Westgate Resorts who's selling the sausage
right on
too as well.
So is that all the Westgate Resorts?
Check us out on Fred Stokes Tailgate Show on Sunday mornings at 10 a.m., 10 to 11 on ESPN 580.
That's right.
And I can say those sausages are terrific, by the way.
Yeah, is it all the Westgate Resorts? Because I've had it at Gatlinburg. Was the first place I had it.
It says all the Westgate Resorts.
Right on.
Man, that's pretty awesome.
All right, cool beans. So let's get these 3 tips. All right, so every week I kind of sum up the show and give some 3 tips. So the first tip I got for everybody, because let's say you're listening to the show and you're thinking, hey, you know what? Maybe I do have bias, maybe I don't. But if I do, what am I supposed to do? So the 3 tips. The first one I have is you got to change your world. You got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. So step outside of yourself, get to know some people who aren't like you. Maybe different race, color, creed, religion, political background, socioeconomic status. Doesn't matter. Get outside of yourself and meet different people and hear different points of views. Second tip I got is let others be where they're at, man. Anger is not going to help it. You got to let those people be where they're at. If they're still dealing with childhood issues or education that they received that isn't on par with yours, let them be where they're at. By getting angry at them and lashing out, it's not going to help do anything but reiterate to them why they didn't like you in the first place. You got to let them be where they're at. Kill them with kindness, basically. And the third one is find out why you have your bias, and take personal responsibility. So if you feel you do have a bias, maybe look into it and figure out why. Were you hurt by somebody in the past? Were you taught something? It's one thing to have the bias. It's another one to keep it going. So, we're all old enough now. We have the internet. We have things of that nature. It's time to look at our bias, educate yourselves, and start to take personal responsibility. It's one thing to have it. It's another thing to act on it. So that would be our 3 tips. Thank you. A big thank you to our sponsors. We have Retreat, Prepare Addiction Treatment Centers. We have Journey Pure, Now Matters More in Orange County. A big thank you for Fred Stokes, Mr. Super Bowl champ from the Redskins, for coming on and talking to us a little bit.
Go find yourself a Fred Stokes sausage.
Yes, sir. All right, until next time. Now that you know better, be better. See you.
I think he plans it all out. Just makes it up as he goes along.
Human knowledge belongs to the world.